So, welcome. My name is Dr. Phil Cox, and I am the program lead for the Human Sciences degree programs here at UCL. And with us on the call, we also have Tom Hawkins, who's our admissions tutor.
Hello.
And we have some students who are currently on the BSc and MSci Human Sciences in various different years. So I'm just going to get them to say hello and tell you what year of study they're in. So Anya.
Hi, my name's Anya. I'm a fourth year Human Sciences and Evolution MSci student.
Thanks. Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby and I'm a second year Human Sciences student.
Shreya.
Hi, I'm Shreya and I'm a second year Human Sciences student.
Lisan.
Hi, I'm Lisa and I'm a second year.
And Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deborah and I'm a fourth year Human Sciences and Evolution student.
Great. So you'll see that we've got students spanning the years actually from first year right up to fourth year, and later on we'll give you the opportunity to sort of put questions to them, and they can give you their sort of personal reflections on the course itself. But what I'm going to do first is I've got some slides and I'll give you a little talk which is an introduction to the course, what it's all about, sorts of modules that you might take, and some other information as well. So I am just going to get those slides up. Okay, share, and I think it's this one. No, it's this one. Excellent. So you should be able to see those all right.
Yeah, I can see them at least.
Thanks, Tom. So yes, welcome to this open day for human sciences. There we go. So who are we? What are we? So the human sciences program is pretty unusual, if not unique, at UCL and even more widely within UK universities, because we are an interdisciplinary program that spans more than one faculty at UCL. So our particular focus is that we combine the study of life sciences with social and historical sciences. And we do that to encourage holistic thinking across disciplinary boundaries. We want our students to take broad perspectives about the things they are studying, not just looking at them from one disciplinary perspective, but many. And our big selling point, I think, is that we prioritize student choice. So if you join our degree program, you will have a very wide choice of modules from across UCL, and that will allow you to curate your own degree, to explore different subjects, find out what your interests are. Maybe you're not quite so sure at the moment, and this degree somewhat leaves that open, allows you to make those decisions and find out, yeah, this is an area I'm particularly interested in. And we also support skills development. So we want you to come away from our degree with lots of not just knowledge about the different subjects you studied, but also practical and transferable and personal skills as well. And why do we do this? Well, why interdisciplinarity? Because we feel it helps you to decode complexity. It allows you to look at a question and really take it apart and understand it from many different perspectives. And you'll see that we have this quote here from a former graduate on the MSci course who said that human sciences gave me the skills to understand the world better. And that's what we hope every single human sciences student comes away with. So why come to UCL? Well, I mean, for a start, there aren't that many places that run a human sciences degree in any case like ours, but we really hope that you would want to come to UCL because we are a world-leading university. In this year's QS World Rankings, we came 9th in the world for universities, and last year we were the University of the Year in the Times Good University Guide. At UCL, the degree is run between two departments, so between anthropology and biosciences. Both departments have a real stake in this degree, and both of those departments are, really world-leading departments. So, for instance, in the most recent subject rankings with the QS, anthropology was 4th in the world. Oh, somebody's just got their microphone on. If they could, thank you. And biological sciences was 16th, life sciences 9th. So within our sort of areas that we specialize in, we're really in the top 20 departments there, and to emphasize, that's in the world, not in the UK. So you can see some of the other rankings of some of the sort of cognate disciplines that we study here. So here you can see some of the people who are involved in the running of the program. That's me at the top there. So as I said, I'm Dr. Phil Cox. I'm the program director, and I'm in the division of biosciences, particularly within a part called the Centre for Integrative Anatomy. And that's what I research. I'm interested in evolutionary anatomy. So how anatomy evolves and is influenced by the environment and ecology. We also have a senior tutor who can't be with us today. That's Dr. Denise Salali, and she's in the other department that runs this degree, which is anthropology. And Denise is an evolutionary anthropologist interested in evolutionary medicine and things like that. And then we have our admissions tutor, Tom Hawkins, who's on this call, and he's part of the same department as me, cell and developmental biology, but in a different part. He's not in the anatomy team. He's interested in neuroscience. Then we have a whole swathe of personal tutors here who I'm not going to name because the names won't mean anything particularly to you at the moment, but just to note that you will each be, if you come on this course, be assigned a personal tutor who you will meet with each term to sort of check on your academic progress, be a conduit for any questions you might have or trouble issues you need to raise. And those personal tutors come from a range of departments across the university. We have lots of departments who are, friends of the degree that provide, some kind of contribution to our degree in the form of staff time. So not just anthropology and biosciences, but also science and technology studies, immunology and infection, geography, psychology, and so on. So you'll have support from across the university, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so I think a lot of you who are attending today will want to know some of the nuts and bolts of the degree. What is it that you'll actually be studying on this degree? That can be quite difficult to answer because we are such a broad-ranging degree with such a large degree of student choice. However, I can tell you what you'd be studying in year 1 because that's largely set, and you can see the modules that you'll be studying in each of the terms in human sciences, and you'll notice that most of them are called introduction to or introductory. And that's because the first year we use to give you a broad grounding in the subjects that we feel, are core to human sciences, so that you're able to then go on and pick other modules in those sorts of areas in second and third year. So you'll see in term 1, for instance, you have introduction to biological anthropology and introduction to cell and molecular biology. Both of those have an arrow next to them, which means they continue through both terms. And then you also have introduction to anatomy and embryology, which is just term 1. This module here, introduction to cell and molecular biology, is one that is specifically for human sciences students. No other degree courses at UCL take that module, and that's on purpose. That is so that the human scientists have a time in the week when it's just them together and they can really build their cohort and get to know other members on your cohort. Our cohort size is about 50 students, which is relatively small for a degree, and it's quite nice. I think some of the students quite appreciate that because it does mean you can get to know most other people in your year. In term 2, then, so these 2 modules continue over, and then you will also do some genetics, physiology, and psychology. And then we do have a little bit of choice in year 1. So you get 1 optional module to choose from. These are mostly in the social sciences. So you could do social anthropology, you can do human ecology, which is a module from the geography department, or we have an introduction to history and philosophy and social studies of science, which is in science and technology studies. Or, and many of our students do take this option, you can do a modern foreign language. And so you can continue a language that you already have some learning in, or you can choose to take a language from scratch. And many of our students do that. And some of them really enjoy it and then continue that into their 2nd and 3rd year. So that is an option. In year 2 and beyond, things get really broad, and it's then at this point it becomes really difficult for me to tell you what you'll be doing, because no 2 students on our degree probably ever do the same set of modules. You have a really, really wide choice. So in year 2, there's just 2 compulsory modules. This one here, called Human Sciences in Society, is run by the Science and Technology Studies Department, and this is like the 1st year module. It's only for human sciences students. So it's another opportunity for you to be all together as a cohort. And then alongside that, there is a statistics module that you have to do in your 2nd year. It's an introductory module, so you don't need to worry that it's at a too high level. For the rest of your 2nd year, it's up to you. You get to make a choice. So you have 90 credits of options that equates to about 6 modules. And they can really come from a wide range of places. We request that a couple of those modules come from anthropology or biosciences, because that's the the home departments of this degree. But beyond that, really and truly, they can come from quite a lot of places across the university, from brain sciences, mathematical, physical sciences, social and historical sciences, or even arts and humanities, or, as I said earlier, you can continue your foreign language. So you really can sort of pick modules to satisfy your own interests. Year 3 is much the same. So in terms of the optional modules, you've got the same number of optional modules available to you and the same restrictions, which is not many restrictions. The compulsory module in the 3rd year is your dissertation project. So all students on human sciences, much like on other degrees, must do a 3rd year dissertation. Our students do their dissertations on such a wide range of topics. It's really, really interesting. I really enjoy reading them. You choose your own question, and you have to find your own supervisor across from somewhere in UCL, but it doesn't have to be anthropology and biosciences. It can be from further afield. The only stipulation with the dissertations is that they must be interdisciplinary. So they must combine the life and social sciences to have this broad perspective. Our dissertations are 10,000 words long. It's a nice long form bit of writing. They're mostly literature projects. Some people do some primary research, and they really address some very interesting subjects. As examples from this year, ones I happen to know about, we have one student researching the very new technique of uterine transplants, something that's only just coming in. We have a student looking at Christian Science and the ethics related to that. And we have another student looking at ultra-processed foods and student understanding of that. So that's just 3 examples from very, very many. So you can really, again, you can suit your own interests with your dissertation. So if you just do those first 3 years that I've described, that would be what you would do for your BSc. And most the majority of our students do that route. But there are other routes, 4-year routes through the degree programme. Firstly, here we have the integrated masters, so the MSci in human sciences, and I've got and evolution here in brackets, which I'll explain about in a minute. So you can apply to do the MSci from the get-go if you want. So you can apply to enter UCL on the MSci route, or you can decide to transfer into it during your degree. So if you're not sure if you would want to do this 4th year and get an MSci, you don't have to worry too much at the moment. You can apply to the BSc route, and then you can decide a year or 2 down the line if that's what if you want to transfer into it. We allow transfers all the way through the 1st and 2nd year, and even in the very beginning of 3rd year. Similarly, if you apply for the MSci route and then decide you don't want to do the full MSci, you can transfer back as well. At the moment, this is an MSci in human sciences and evolution, and so we ask students on this, at least in their 3rd year, to be specialising a bit in evolution related topics, although we do take a very broad view on what constitutes evolution related. Most bits of biology are evolution related. But the most important thing about the MSci year is your 4th year, where you undertake a much longer research project. So it's 60 credits, which is double the credit rating of what you do in the 3rd year. So it's essentially half your time in your 4th year is on your research project. It usually is a full research project with some actual primary research in there. And students on this route really appreciate having that time to really get into a subject and research it themselves. Students on this track also have the opportunity to attend a field school in their 3rd year if they so wish. So we have an agreement that students can attend the Turkana Basin Institute Field School, which is in Kenya. And any of you that are into human evolution, our fossil ancestors, may know that this is a very, very important fossil site for paleoanthropology, where lots of close relatives to humans, their fossils have been found and dug up. And so this field school is run by Stony Brook University in New York, and we have an agreement with them. It does incur additional costs if you want to go there, obviously. So this isn't mandatory. This is for students that are interested. But if you do this, then you go in one of the terms in term 3, and you would then not do the 3rd year dissertation. Or you can choose not to do it, and you can do a 3rd year dissertation as normal and still go on to year 4. The reason I've got and evolution in brackets here is that we have made or are in the process of making a change such that our 4th year MSci offering will just be MSci human sciences in a year or 2, and that's because of student sort of feedback that the and evolution was too limiting, and many people that don't have those kinds of interests would still like to do an MSci in human sciences. And that should be coming on stream in a couple of years. But don't worry if you're intending to apply for this degree title, Human Sciences and Evolution. If you apply for that, you will still be able to graduate with that degree title if you wish. The likelihood is you would have a choice, actually. Another 4-year route is our study abroad route. So we have a BSc Human Sciences with study abroad, and that means a student would take a year out between their 2nd and 3rd year, where they would go to another university in another country. This isn't a route you can apply to start on. This is a route you have to transfer into once you're here. And indeed, we encourage you to wait until you've got your placement sorted, and that's definitely happening before you would transfer into it. So you would apply for placement in the 1st term of your 2nd year, so you don't have to be absolutely definite that you want to do this until the beginning of your 2nd year. You can't go anywhere. You have to go to one of our partner institutions where we have an agreement already. But yeah, you would apply in the first term of year 2, and then if you're successful, then that can go ahead between your second and third year. So we've had students go all over the world, as you can see from here. Currently, we've got 2 students overseas, one in McGill University in Montreal in Canada, and one in Perth at the University of Western Australia. And we have one student, I think, set up to go somewhere next year. We're constantly sort of monitoring our offering on this. We've got a few new institutions coming on stream as potential destinations next year. So Amsterdam dropped off for a while, but we've brought that back, which is good. Zurich is coming on as a place to visit, and also Stony Brook in New York. So I said earlier that it's impossible to list all the modules that students could possibly take, or indeed even do take on human sciences, because it's such a long list. But obviously, I know you'll want to have an idea, at least a flavour of the sorts of things that students do. So on this slide, I've given you the most popular modules taken by our second and third years, I think from the last 3 years, something like that. Number 1, which has been number 1 for a few years now, is this module called Drugs and the Mind, which is sort of pharmacology, psychology type module. Usually we have a quarter to a fifth of our second years taking this module, and it's always really, really enjoyed. Neuroscience is always popular with a certain proportion of the human scientists as well. So we've got structure and function of nervous systems, we've got brain and behavior down here. Other biosciences modules are things like evolutionary genetics, infection, but also lots of the anthropology modules are very popular, including biosocial approaches to child rearing, which is run by one of our former members of staff on this program, paleoanthropology down here. And then lots of modules from the psychology department are quite popular as well. Also modules from economics, geography, politics, philosophy, science and technology studies. All those departments tend to have modules with lots of human sciences students on them. This slide, rather than showing you the most popular ones, I put together to show perhaps some of the more unusual modules that students on our degree courses take, and I chose them to also be quite diverse within this little grouping, so you can really get a sense of just how broad the number of modules and topics of modules available to you are. So we've got ones from religion, from politics, from art, from I think this is probably statistics, film, language, classics, philosophy. So we really do have this broad swathe available to you, and every year students find new modules in the university that I didn't know exist and request to take them, and generally we allow it. On top of your studies, of course, you'll get opportunities to get involved in extracurricular events and activities. We have a human sciences student committee who organise a lot of the social events for the degree programme. So they're currently looking into an end of year party. They run a Christmas party. They also run a symposium each year where they invite 3 or 4 distinguished speakers to come and talk on a particular topic, and that's usually in term 2. And we have a student staff partnership meeting as well, which is where students can bring feedback on the course, and the number of the staff members involved with the course will be there to sort of listen to that and decide then if action needs to be taken in relation to that. And that feedback is funneled through the student representative. So each year of the degree program has an academic representative whose job it is to gather feedback and present that to me and the other members of staff on the program. Like all degrees and all universities, you'll have the opportunity to get involved in wider societies across the university. There's a society for just about every kind of pastime and activity that you can think of. And we do provide you with quite a bit of support throughout your time here at UCL. So I mentioned the personal tutors. So they are your sort of first point of contact. They can provide quite a bit of academic support. We have student advisors who are professionals employed to sort of help with personal, pastoral, health kind of issues, either directly or by sort of knowing where in the university you can seek help. We have a very active careers team who are really good at identifying opportunities available for our students, knowing when the different deadlines for different sorts of jobs and placements are, and they do a couple of events throughout each year to tell you about these. And they also run a panel event with former students who can talk about what it is they're now doing in their careers. So in summary, we believe that our degree, the human sciences degree, will help you develop interdisciplinary knowledge and will allow you to pursue your own academic interests and advance different skills so that you'll come out the other end as a really rounded individual with a lot of transferable skills suitable for a real multitude of different potential careers. Talking of careers, and people often want to know what sorts of careers our students go into. Much like the degree itself, it's really varied. So we have all these things listed here. So some of our students, quite a few of our students, go on to further study. So either they might stay on for the integrated masters in human sciences, but they might go off and do an MSc in a more specific subject. If they've decided throughout the first 3 years they're really into neuroscience, say, they might go and do an MSc in neuroscience, and then a number of those go on to PhDs as well. Some of our students apply to graduate entry medicine afterwards. Some of them have applied to law conversion courses. But yeah, we have students going into fields like public health, to journalism, consultancy. So I know more than one of our students was on placement over the summer with big consultancy companies in London. Again, so the career service are quite good at knowing when the deadlines are for applying for those sorts of placements. We've had students go into the civil service, and we have someone that's just secured a place on the civil service fast track scheme for next year. We have students working in policy, research, accountancy. So a real range. And like I say, we try and put together these panel events so that you can meet students who've done interesting things after their human sciences degrees. So getting towards the end of my slides, I wanted to give you a brief example of the sorts of research that you might hear about during your degree, a piece of interdisciplinary research. I mean, similar to what you might do a small part of this as part of your project, and to really highlight why we believe that interdisciplinary research is so important. So one of our personal tutors in the anthropology department has been doing research on the human pelvis, which is obviously a really important part of the skeleton when it comes to childbirth. And what they discovered in their research is that most medical textbooks will tell you that a human pelvis looks like this on the right-hand side, which is called the gynecoid shape, with this very circular or oval shape to the birth canal. But the medical textbooks would tell you this is the standard female pelvis. However, actually, what this is the standard female pelvis for women with a European ancestry. And actually, there's a really high variation of pelvis shape, this researcher found, across the world. And so you might have a birth canal that has this more heart shape, which is called the android shape. And so it's only by understanding that there is this variation that isn't reflected in medical textbooks that you can start to say, well, actually, maybe, you know, things need to change here, because this could really affect birth outcomes for women, particularly for those without European ancestry, because you might be advising inappropriate outcomes depending on, you know, because you don't really know what the shape of the pelvis is. So as I say, one of our personal tutors was doing this research, and I think what it shows is that how different disciplines can come together in the same bit of research. So obviously, anatomy is involved here very heavily in this bit of research, looking at the pelvis shape, but anthropology as well is clearly a part of it, understanding, you know, differences across the world between populations, and this links into population genetics as well, understanding the genetic background of that variation. Clearly, there's a medical link as to how it affects birth outcomes, and a global health understanding of, you know, why outcomes might be different in different populations. And also history plays into this research as well, of course, and understanding why it is the medical textbooks look like they do and why they're not reflecting actually the reality. So just to finish off, because this is an open day, and so we're hoping that a number of you might apply to our degree course, just to tell you a little bit about the application to try and help you make a good application. So obviously you need to meet or be predicted the entry grade requirements, and we have an offer of 3 A's, with one of those being a science subject, preferably biology, but yeah, a science subject definitely anyway. Plus you need English and maths at grade B or 6 in your GCSEs. Do note that we do contextual offers, so check with Access UCL whether you might be eligible for those. There are quite clear and quite specific criteria where you'd be eligible for a contextual offer, and what that means is your offer will be lower than that AAA there. It might go down as far as triple B. But the most important thing that I want to emphasize here is the personal statement. So what we're looking for on your personal statement is our candidates or applicants that understand what our program is about, that it is an interdisciplinary program, and we want them to show that they're interested in that kind of study across disciplinary boundaries, a commitment to it, and an understanding that they really want to bring together the life and social sciences. And just to re-emphasize, I mentioned it earlier, each year, so we welcome around 50 students. That's our cohort size. Relatively small, quite a nice number for getting to know your other fellow students on the degree. There's a few FAQs here, many of which actually I've covered. We often get asked if you can take paid employment during your studies, and the answer is yes. Many of our students do that. Various different forms. Tutoring is quite popular at the moment, also work in local restaurants and things like that. Is all the teaching in person? Yes, it is. So obviously during COVID times, a lot of it was not, but you know, all our lectures and seminars and practicals and what have you are delivered in person. The lectures are still recorded and are available to you, you know, for revision purposes. Assessments are very varied. We have a wide range of assessments. There's a big exam period happening now. So some sort of quite traditional exams sitting in a big exam hall, being invigilated are happening in this term, but you'll also have other bits of assessment throughout the year, bits of coursework like essays, oral presentations, poster presentations, group work, podcasts, the lot really. And it very much depends on what modules you take. We've talked about that. Can you mainly take life or social sciences? We don't require students to pick modules from the darkest reaches of UCL. You can stick to the modules from biosciences and anthropology if you want. That's absolutely fine. And I've covered the last two questions because they were about careers. So that's all I want to say at the moment. I know we have a lot of people have joined us online. You may well have questions. So I'm going to stop sharing. If I can, there we go. Remember how to do that. So feel free to ask questions in whatever way is most comfortable for you. So you can put your hand up, turn your microphone on and ask a question, or you can pop it in the chat if you want. We've got the students here as well, so don't feel you've got to direct your questions to me. If you'd like to hear student perspective, one question here already is someone who had some technical difficulties and asked if they'll be able to access the recording of this after the event. I believe that's the case. Is that right, Ian?
Yes, it is, and I'll drop a link in the chat to where it will be. It may not be available for a few weeks, but I'll drop a link to where it will be.
Yeah. Somebody else has asked if it's possible to get a deferral for a gap year if you get accepted onto the program. I'm sure that's the case. Yes, as with any other degree. Yes. So I don't foresee a problem with that at all.
Just to add to that person who had technical difficulties, we have an in-person open day also coming up if you're able to come to London as an alternative potentially to watching an online one. I can't remember when it is exactly. It's the
last Friday end of June. It's the last Friday and Saturday of June, so the 27th and the 28th of June.
There you go.
Excellent. I'm glad to see the students getting involved in there. Yes. So can you pick modules from the biomedical course? Yes, absolutely you can. And indeed, you will definitely share some modules with the biomeds.
Yeah, a lot of them are shared.
How much geography would you be able to take? You'd be able to take quite a bit of geography. So you'd need to take some anthropology and biosciences, or either or both in your second and third year, but then geography modules are available to you. So you would be able to take quite a few, although we do encourage our students to take a diversity of modules and not just, stick to one department. Otherwise, they might want to consider a degree from that department if that's what they're really into. But you can certainly, take quite a bit. And geography is definitely a friend of the degree program. So many of their modules are available to our students.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, Lisa.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. So yeah, we are more biology based than perhaps some other human sciences programs. I've seen a hand up. I'll come to that in a minute. So someone's asked if there's a complete list of modules available. No, because it is just too many.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. You can. I think that the module catalogue for UCL in total, I think, is accessible to anyone in the world. So if you just put module catalogue UCL, you can go there and browse to your heart's content across from the whole of UCL. But that, as Phil said, some of those are available to human sciences students. I mean, we do allow the odd module from anywhere. So feel free to browse there if you want.
Henry, you've had your hand up for a while.
There you go, someone sent a link.
Hi, there's a module at Durham for something like primate societies, and I was wondering if there's if you know off the top of your head, there's something like similar at UCL.
Yeah, I think I'm almost convinced there is a module called primate societies or something very similar. I can't.
Perhaps one of the students can comment. I don't know whether they know about anything like that.
It's called primate behavior and ecology, and you can take it in your second year.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, and they
Pleasure.
also do field ecology, which is
Yes.
like a field trip to Tanzania.
That's right, and we often
So
have
in third
one.
year, you can do a field trip to Tanzania.
Yeah, in the summer, is that right? I think you do it in the summer just before your third year, don't you? And then it contributes to your third year modules, if I've got that right. And we often have human scientists taking that module.
Sorry, would you mind repeating that? I couldn't hear what Abby was saying.
I think a connection's a bit slow. I'll just repeat. So there is a module, there's a field primatology module run by the anthropology department, and it's in Tanzania. And if you select that for your third year, you actually do it in the summer before your third year.
The field work, yeah.
Yeah, the field work. And as I say, we've had several. In fact, Deborah, didn't you do that module?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. I've been on that one. That was really good. And also to add as well, in first year, we do a biological anthropology module, and for a half term, we basically do primatology. So that's our beginning, and then you can choose to do it in second and third year and so on. So there's quite a lot.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, students, for dealing with some of the questions in the chat here. So do you find that students who become more interested in a more specific area of the course, e.g. immunology, are able to get into master's programs within that specific area? Yes, happens all the time. I think I mentioned before, there's usually a few that get really into neuroscience and often want to go on to do an MSc in neuroscience. And they're usually successful. And I know for a fact we've had some students successfully get onto programs this year. And I know that students worry sometimes that they might be perceived that it's not a sort of hard science degree, and that might limit them with those kind of masters. But I genuinely have not seen that being a problem so far at all.
In my experience, it's not a problem at all. Yeah. Yeah.
How much would individual modules be able to link together? Modules are independent, and in a sense, they have to be because of the choice element. So we can, particularly from second year onwards, we can't always guarantee that students have taken other modules, so they have to exist on their own. So I'm not quite sure what you mean by linked together per se. If that was your question, you might want to give us some more info on that one. Proportion of international students on the course, I think it's...
It's a good question.
Is it about a third? I think it's about a third.
A little under a third, I think, but yes, it's around that level. Yeah. It's lower than a lot of other mod courses in UCL, actually, interestingly. I don't really know why that is, but it does seem to be the case. Yeah. Some particularly in biosciences, some of them are up near sort of 50 or 60%, whereas we're down near about 30%, 20 to 30%. Yeah. It obviously varies a bit from year to year.
There you go, Tom.
What is my role as an admissions tutor involve? It involves liaising with Phil on designing working on the admissions criteria for the program. I also deal with transfers. So sometimes we get students who either want to transfer out or into the program. That's does happen. We get a few students each year who either decide they don't want to do human sciences and they go to a different program. I also study abroad tutor, so I help run that aspect as well. So I give a talk to some students about that and generally help that. But yeah, we work very tightly together, don't we, Phil? And also Denise, who unfortunately couldn't make it today. Yeah.
And Tom also runs the compulsory module in the first year. For the human scientists. So
if you're wondering if I make all the decisions about who gets onto the course, that's not really what I do. What I do is I set the criteria and Central UCL make the decisions. Occasionally we get asked to make a decision, but it's only if this is a particularly unusual case.
someone's asked if it'd be possible to do a complete transfer to biomed. Yes, but if you're at this stage, then you could just apply to biomed now.
Yeah, I would advise to do that. Yeah,
unless you've already got an offer. But yeah, at this stage, it's easier to just apply directly to that course.
I would recommend that if you are considering biomed rather than coming to human sciences, because your transfers, whilst likely to be okay, is not guaranteed. So you're better off applying to biomed if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and sometimes we're limited in transfers owing to numbers rather than it just being a case of do you have the right background type thing.
I'm a bit lost track of the comments, to be honest.
Yeah,
where are we at?
There's been two. Well, there's right at the bottom. There's two questions that are quite similar, which is about applications and personal statements. So, do we recommend anything in particular to help the application, and what makes a personal statement stand out?
The answer from Lisan is good.
Yeah.
I think also we place a strong emphasis on interdisciplinary thinking and experience of any description that you might have had in any interdisciplinary sort of realm. So anything you can say about that is key. You know, especially, I mean, if you, for example, for your high school, you've done a diverse range of subjects. That's a good indicator of interdisciplinarity. Yeah. So yeah. For some reason I can't say interdisciplinary today.
Yeah, we're sort of trying to see if check that you've understood what you've applied to in a way.
Yeah.
And that this, so this is right for you. And as much as it's we can actually infer from a bit of writing that this is genuinely something that appeals to you as an interdisciplinary. What other courses do students of this course apply to? We don't know, to be perfectly honest.
I don't think we do.
Other than I know a lot of people apply for human sciences at Oxford because it's one of the few similar courses.
We only know from what we've asked the students who we've talked to. We don't get that information as far as I understand it, or I've never seen it. So yeah, but as Phil says, Oxford is another place where people, yeah. There we go. Thanks, Lisan.
Yeah. I guess the issue is the issue here that it's a single personal statement that's got to do for everyone, and there aren't enough. So. Yeah. There aren't enough human sciences courses out there for you to fill up your 6 options or whatever it is.
Natural sciences is also interdisciplinary, so that's a good indicator. So if you're doing those kind of applications, that's a good one to be able to have one statement.
Thanks both Lisan and Deborah for that. So applying for human biology, natural sciences, those kinds of things. So cognate courses, you'll be able to hopefully construct something that fits both.
Good. I quite liked it this morning, Phil, when you asked our students if they wanted to comment. I can't remember what you said exactly. What was it?
Well, somebody in the morning asked, didn't they, what their favourite part of the course was, or what was it that? Is it
something like that?
Or the standout bit, the highlight of the course was for them.
So far,
yeah. Do the students want to tell us that, please?
If they're able, if they can think of something.
I don't mind going first.
Yeah, thanks, Deborah.
Yeah, so I think what I've enjoyed the most is the opportunity to do field work and having an opportunity this year to do my research project. So I've sort of been able to not just learn, but also apply my skills in the field. So I've really enjoyed that aspect.
Actually, participating in research in that sense.
Yeah.
Great. And you're in the 4th year of the MSci, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Deborah's been up on our floor, working away.
Yeah, I recognise her. Anyone else?
Yeah, you can also show off. Well, you can show off to your friends that you're studying. I don't know. You'll be studying genetics one day, and the next day you'll be learning about gender studies or some other interesting thing. I think I did a reading about galactics and Greek mythology, and then the next day I was doing anatomy, pure anatomy. So you can really do so much, and like you become such a well-rounded person. So yeah, that's such a great thing about human sciences.
We've had a few more questions come in, but we could
Yeah.
hear from students again if briefly if you want.
Yeah, if
anyone's got any
burning things to say. Okay, well, I'll just deal with these questions because Ian's noted that we've only got 10 minutes. So are there any other modules on the course that relate to embryology other than the first year anatomy and embryology? Yep, loads of developmental modules in second and third year that you can choose from. So yeah, you'll be catered to there. Do people studying this course generally live together in first year? I don't know, students.
Yeah.
Do you live with other human scientists, or did you rather?
I think it depends on your accommodation. So from my experience, I didn't live with anyone in human sciences, but I know with other accommodations, there were people that were on the same floor and they were also studying human sciences. So it really just depends.
Yeah, and because there's a few different sort of halls around, aren't there?
Sorry, I was just going to say that I actually live in a house of 6 human sciences people.
Oh, really?
There we go.
Sorry.
That answers the question.
Yeah.
Abby, are you first year or second year? I can't remember where you are.
I'm second year, so we decided to do that.
Yeah. There you go. So that doesn't, it's quite, yeah. So sometimes not necessarily in the first year, but maybe in later on, yeah.
And thank you, students. Well, thank you. Yeah,
it's a vigorous discussion going on about careers and interdisciplinarity. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know how I was going to answer that question. Are there downsides to doing interdisciplinary degree? But Lisa, you've answered that very well, as you're saying it can be difficult to find a career path, but as yes, the careers advisors are really good, actually, I have to say. And you have access to them all through your degree, and I think a bit beyond as well, actually. So,
and I think the difficulties are really to do with having a large number of options.
Yeah.
You think about somebody who does medicine, they're going to do medicine, aren't they? Whereas a degree like this, you really have a very wide range of options. And that's what the degree really its strength is, I think, is keeping your options open as well as through the degree as well as afterwards. Yeah.
And we've just been through perhaps one of the most difficult bits of the degree, which is module selection. And I say that's difficult because there's so many modules available that I know the students get a bit overwhelmed, and it's like, what am I going to choose? And then there's always a sense of, well, I've chosen these ones, but no, it means I can't have that one because there's only a finite amount of time available to me. So, but it's a good problem to have, I think. Henry, you've got your hand up.
Is there lots of competition for select modules? Like you could select one and then not necessarily get it?
Some competition, yes. So we're in module selection at the moment. There is a module reselection period in the summer if you don't get accepted on some of the modules. Generally, you'll be accepted on ones in biosciences and anthropology without any problem. There's quite a few in psychology and that give priority to human sciences students alongside their own students. But if you choose something a bit more sort of far away from those departments, there can be some competition. It depends on sort of space requirements for that module. But what we do is try to get all the students to pick their modules on the very first day that module selection opens, and that gives you the best possible chance of being accepted onto those modules.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, other modules that sometimes have problems and limitations, it's because it's most frequently because there's some specific limitation to do with the practical or something like that, where there's literally only a number of seats in the room. But broadly, the less practical modules tend to be a little bit more flexible. Yeah, and allow more people on. I can see that there's a discussion going on here as well.
Yeah. Someone's asked if you can switch midway between modules. There is a sort of cooling off period at the very beginning of a term where if you've chosen a module and you just don't like it very much, you can switch sort of up to 2 or 3 weeks. and then after that you're kind of committed.
We always advise as soon as possible, but yes, up to 2 weeks.
Yeah. And is the study abroad competitive? No, well, anyone's allowed to apply for it from human sciences.
Some of the locations are quite competitive, though.
Yeah.
So the process is that that UCL has agreements with various universities around the world, and has agreements to have a certain number of students who exchange essentially between those universities and UCL. And those are the number of students who can exchange is for the whole of UCL, right? So sometimes you're competing with a lot of other people who want to go to a particular university, but some universities have many, many more places than others. And so that's really just down to the particular place. The study abroad team are very good at communicating which are the very competitive ones and which are the less competitive ones. You put down a range of options and you get awarded according to a random allocation.
Yeah. Yes. You're generally not competing between other human scientists, because
it's generally not that many, and they usually choose different ones.
Yeah,
so
exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think formal exams at university differ greatly from how they were previously? Yeah. Well, we are mostly back into sort of in-person ones now, and that's largely because of AI concerns. But like I said, we do try to have a variety of assessments. It's usually about 2 per module at least, so that you may have like a bit of coursework and then a bit of
there's always something in any given module. I think these days there's at least 10%, if not more. So it's a balance of examinations and coursework usually. Some modules, that's one of the advantages of this program, is you get to select, and one of the criteria you can feed into your decisions is the assessment structure. So if you favor examinations over coursework, you can go for modules which are a bit more like that, or the other way. And I mean, that's obviously a balance between what your preferences and interests are, of course, as well. So it's always a balance. But yeah, it's one of the criteria.
Right, so we're into the last 2 minutes. If anyone's got a burning, I think quite a few people have dropped out now. So are there any last questions? If not, I'd just like to say thank you very much to all the students who've come along to give us their perspectives on the degree. That's been really helpful. Thanks for sort of stepping in with the answers on the chat there. That's been great. And to those of you still on the chat here, please know that if you've got any further questions, we have a human sciences mailbox, and Ian's just put the email in the chat there. Thanks very much for coming along, and we hope that we'll be seeing some of you at UCL in due course.
Indeed. Yeah.
So bye now.
Thank you very much.